Filmmaking is a craft, and like all crafts, it's something in which a craftsman needs their tools to succeed. But at the same time, it isn't the tools that make the craft, but rather the talent of the craftsmen themselves. You can say that gear doesn't matter, and for the most part, that's actually quite true. But having some essentials and really cheap basic equipment can go a long way in making your films and videos that much better. Okay, so just roll with me for a minute here. Lighting. Lighting can profoundly make or break a video. So the tools that you use to record this instant in time here actually work very similar to the human eye. Think about it. Everything you've ever seen or ever will see comes from a beam of light directed through your pupil and onto your cornea. The same is pretty much true with cameras as well. This camera, this medium that's allowing me to speak to you from a single instance throughout time, well, it's really just a camera. But the technology behind video actually came from photography, which literally translates to light painting. So anytime you're setting up a shoot, the lighting that you pick can have a huge effect on the overall mood or focus of a scene. But before I try and explain this, why not just show you some examples? So let me ask you this, which of those two clips do you think is the happy one and the negative one? Clip A or clip B? I'll give you a second to decide. Got it? Well, if you guessed clip A is the negative one and clip B as the positive one, then you would be absolutely right. Congratulations. But here's the crazy part about both of those scenes. Both were actually shot in very similar lighting conditions, with only 3 minor changes. For clip A, in order to give the scene a more sad and just kind of depressing vibe, only 1 direct light source was used. So basically, to create this kind of mood, an emphasis is put on what you don't see. This lack of light serves as a representation for how the character's feeling and in turn the entire mood of the scene itself, with the lack of light in particular serving as an envoy for a lack of happiness. Meanwhile, when you take a look at clip B, the additional overall lighting and fill lighting focused on the character's face helps to convey a more upbeat mood. And this is actually done using just 2 simple things: a cheap foldable reflector and a portable softbox lighting kit. Now, what I love about these is they're both very portable, so you can take them pretty much anywhere, and as you can see, they can change the entire mood of a scene. And this particular reflector actually folds up into a portable carrying case with a strap on top, and you can get it for around 12 bucks on Amazon right now, which is actually quite a good deal. Meanwhile, this Neweer portable softbox kit can be had for around 25 bucks on Amazon right now, which is still a pretty good price considering how much light you get out of this. Are you blind now? Congratulations. And just one more tip when it comes to lighting. Always take advantage of natural light when it's available as much as possible. Unlike artificial light, natural light isn't focused, so it covers your subject in a much broader spectrum of colors, which of course looks much better than a simple warm or blue tinted light. And while we're talking about lighting, if you want more light to work with in your photos and that crispy blurred background effect, consider picking up a 50 or 24mm equivalent lens for your camera. Now, the major difference between these two really has to do with the aperture. Okay, so the 50mm lens has a f1.8 aperture, which means, of course, it does open up more and allow more light into the camera, and in turn, you do get a shallower depth of field like what's behind me right now, but in exchange, you have a much longer distance between you and your subject. Okay, so I'm something like 8 feet away from my camera right now, so I can get that blurred background effect using my 50mm lens, but if I were to move closer, like 2 feet away, number 1, I'd be blinded by this ring light, and number 2, you can't see all of me, can you? Meanwhile, the 24mm is smaller and does allow you to get closer to the camera, but at the expense of a smaller aperture at f2.6. So your background won't be quite as blurry, and you can't quite get as much light in your camera as say a 50, but it does allow you to get closer to your subject. Crap, I'm gonna be blind by age 25. Now let's talk about audio. Audio is crucial when it comes to making any film or video. Most of the time, an on-camera mic just won't cut it. especially in a situation like this where I'm like 8 feet away from the camera, to take advantage of that crispy bokeh effect with the 50mm. But luckily there are a lot of great solutions to this, with the first being a shotgun microphone. So these do provide a very directional sound, meaning you're only going to get the audio in front of the mic and not behind it, which can be a good thing, of course. I mean, you'd rather hear you talking to the camera and not, say, someone else over in the background. And this one in particular is one I've used for a very long time. This is the Takstar SGC598, and it can be had for around $30 on Amazon right now, which is quite the steal. Also, this does have a high pass filter and a plus 10 decibel switch, so you can get better audio out of your camera's DAC. If you don't know what that means and you want to buy this, seriously, Google it. Your audio will be much better. And another alternative is using a dedicated external recorder, which do bring you higher quality sound, but at the expense of having to sync your sound and video files later when you're editing. But that's usually not too much of a pain. I mean, most modern video editing software actually have tools for that. But if that does put you off, another great alternative for if you're very far from the camera is a clip-on lav mic. So these can usually be had for pretty cheap and do provide a great quality sound, provided you have a spot on your clothing to clip it. This particular one I've used in several videos now. It's around $20 to $25 on Amazon, so it's definitely a great mic for the money. I'll definitely link it below if you're interested, but my first and probably most important recommendation for audio is definitely the Takstar SGC598. It's a very versatile mic, and like I said, it's a very good deal too. One thing you will want to do if you buy this is grab yourself a dead cat cover. The wind can be a problem when you're recording outside or vlogging, or even just in your room and like there's a breeze that comes through. So it's good to have one of these on your mic. And just a little tip here, always turn the audio sensitivity down a little bit on your camera, because it's much easier to work with quieter sound and bring it up a bit than it is to work with audio like this. And finally, the last item you want to have for basic filmmaking or video making is a tripod. Okay, so this one's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, we don't always have a second person to hold the camera for us when we're shooting, but it can go a long way in making sure that you get the perfect angle and shot without having to mess with your camera. And you don't even have to spend that much on these. While you would get a lot of great use out of a more expensive fluid head video tripod, let's be honest, these days a $15 to $20 tripod off Amazon works just fine. And I myself have never actually owned a fluid head tripod. I'm actually shooting this off of a cheapo Polaroid $30 tripod off Amazon. I mean, let's be honest here. You could put that money towards something much more useful, like a 50mm lens for the bokeh. Let's see, tripod, audio, lighting, lenses, I think that's it. I will be linking all of these down in the description below with the cheapest prices possible, so if you're wanting to grab any of this gear, feel free to do so in the description below. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful and want to see more like it in the future, definitely consider leaving a like and hitting that red subscribe button below. Any suggestions for me? Have a favorite piece of gear that I didn't mention? Leave a comment down below and let me know. And finally, see you in the next one. Bokeh. I can't pronounce that.